Good afternoon. My name is Evodio Walle, Vice President of Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Contra Costa County, and I'm here with former Mayor Tim Grayson and current council member.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Tim. Thank you for coming out. Now, we're here today to, first of all, address what the potential economic impact could be of this upcoming election, as currently you're running for state assembly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. So, given that our audience is primarily businesses here within Contra Costa County, we're really interested in knowing what your perspectives are on what this upcoming election has in stores for business in Contra Costa.
Well, economic development is on everybody's mind. And economic development is a huge umbrella that encompasses a lot of issues. For instance, there is a phrase that says, as education goes is as cities go. And then you have the issue of transportation and infrastructure. And then you have government in itself that should play a role of partnership with businesses.
Given that you've been mayor for a couple of years and you have a pretty intimate connection here with the county and particularly with the City of Concord,
yes.
What are some of the advantages that you feel you have in this election here and being able to maybe take some of that experience and move it forward into the new election year?
Well, I have worked as mayor for the past 2 years. I have worked hands-on with policies that directly impact business. As a matter of fact, we have been able to institute policy that is business friendly to the tune of bringing in over 1,700 new jobs into Concord. And that is a tremendous stat, being that the economy here in the East Bay was recovering a bit slower than other parts of the country. And so for us to be able to attain those kind of numbers has been very, very good for Concord.
That's certainly an impressive track record, Tim. Now, what can you tell us specifically about some of the legislative issues that are on the line here and what you personally feel that you can do to move them in the right direction?
Well, locally, we have the upcoming project, the Concord Naval Weapons Station. And one of the things that I felt I could do that would help local businesses is to come up with what I called the Concord First policy. And the Concord First policy involved one particular point of making sure that the developer or contractors, in a sense, local sourced, which means that many of the resources they would have to attain would come from local businesses. Now, on a statewide level, there is a very important issue that's coming up that legislators are going to have to face head on, and that is the subject of Prop 13 and the rhetoric of Prop 13 reform.
That's pretty interesting. So you mentioned the Naval Weapons Station, and that's primarily earmarked for housing. Is that the potential use of that area coming up, or?
Well, that can be a perception. However, if I may, to put the record down, it is in total build out. It will encompass about 12,000 new living units, but it will also encompass about 6 million square feet of commercial space. As a matter of fact, in total build out, we're expecting there to be a little over 26,000 new residents. We're also expecting there to be close to 26,000 new jobs. That's almost a 1-to-1 ratio, which is unheard of for that magnitude of development.
Wow, that's certainly an impressive project, Tim. So now what it sounds like is happening here is potentially there's going to be a lot of new units. Basically, we have a lot of realtors in our constituency, and
yes.
as you know, this stands to play out, it seems like there's going to be a whole lot more real estate, per se, to transact in here within this county. So this sounds like something that is standing to impact the realtor profession here within the county. So what is it that you see developing in that particular area as a result of your potential election into state assembly?
Well, the development is multifaceted, and I think the best approach is going at it from a very balanced perspective. For instance, it's not just build and stack high, and it's more of it's more of a customization, because one size doesn't fit all. It's more understanding the dynamic of our community and where we're at right now. For instance, affordability is a huge issue. So I think it's important that we address the affordability of housing here in Contra Costa, especially in Concord. One way of doing that was to make sure that 25% of all living units will be considered affordable housing. We're really focused on those that are just entering into the purchase of a house, as well as those that are our aged community, so that they can age in place and be able to afford housing. And so the 25% housing does focus on those groups, as well as low income and middle low income. And then also being able to focus the housing development in a way that it's higher density, closer to a BART station, because that's where your commuter lives. That's where the millennial, that's the environment the millennial wants. And to be able to meet that need, as well as those that are looking for a plot. They're looking for a yard for their children and a place to raise a family. We have single family housing going up there, but it's not just Concord Naval Weapons Station. We have the downtown Concord, which right now over 500 units are planned to be developed right here, already approved in downtown Concord. So it's not just building a new Concord, it's making sure that Concord Naval Weapons Station is an enhancement to the current existing Concord. And so we're building both downtown Concord as well as out in Concord Naval Weapons Station.
Well, that's certainly a phenomenal visionary perspective. Now, it sounds like you're very much pro low-income affordable housing, and as our audience knows, our county is comprised of approximately 1.2 million, 25% of those Hispanics, and we not only as an Hispanic Chamber advocate for the Hispanic segment, but we're also looking after minorities and minority-owned businesses. We do a lot of outreach into the community, so this is certainly standing to be a very important initiative here that you're championing. So how exactly should we expect your role in the State Assembly to impact the progression of this plan to bring in more affordable housing into not only Concord, but obviously our pretty broad district here, which spans across most of Contra Costa County?
Well, economic development is important to this issue. Because we need the vibrancy of a strong economy to be able to support affordable housing. There was a day when cities like Concord had a tool that we could use called redevelopment that was used to help fund affordable housing projects. That was taken away at the expense of the governor and balancing the state budget. As a city, we got to a point where we understood that, we accepted it, and we chose to move forward. And one of those ways of moving forward was making sure that we focused on our economy, as well as being able to home in on areas and communities that we saw a tremendous need. Again, senior housing, and those of youth that were trying to enter into the housing, to be able to create an environment for that. I think my role in going into the Assembly would be trying to figure out, asking the right questions, partnering with the right people to be able to figure out a way to replace the housing dollars that we lost through redevelopment closures. And so being able to reinstitute that funding would be able to revive the housing, affordable housing funding that we so desperately need for our residents.
Fantastic. So this is an area that you feel you've got a very good breadth of experience in to help drive the change that's needed?
Absolutely. I was chair of the redevelopment committee when it was dissolved by the governor. So I saw the devastating effects, especially in the housing market, and not having the funding for affordable housing anymore.
Fantastic. So given that right now what we're primarily looking for is some kind of idea of what the economic outlook is going to be for this county, what can you tell us about where we're heading in terms of any fiscal objectives? Can you speak to that?
Yes, the city is always looking for ways to build business. And I believe that here in Concord, it's unique in the sense that there is a council that understands and gets it, that we are better served as a partner with our businesses. And the more we can partner with them and the more we can work with them and develop policies that set businesses up for success without compromising our environment, without compromising the integrity of our city and what it's been built on over the decades, and that is families come first. Those same principles can be exercised on a county basis, and those same principles can be exercised on a district basis. As a matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say those same principles will work statewide.
So, Tim, segueing back into the conversation on partnership with the community and with business, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I had mentioned that it took a strong economy in order to provide the funding needed for affordable housing. Well, going back to that strong economy, and I did mention about the partnership between government and business, the reason why I use the word partnership is because there is that tendency for government, or shall we say electeds, to get so swallowed up by the volume of legislation that we actually forget or possibly become misplaced from the very ones we're representing, or those that we truly need in order to represent. And that is the business community. As a matter of fact, my policies that I have exercised on a local level have resonated not just in Contra Costa, but also in Solano County, having been endorsed by the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce. They recognized that those business-friendly policies were creating a vibrant, energized economy here in Concord that is very doable in many other cities and economies. For instance, getting out of the legislative seat or removing yourself from a dais and actually going out and visiting the businesses, listening to the owners, understanding their needs, and not so much coming up with ways to mandate how someone should run their business, but educating yourself as a legislator or as an elected on how business runs, and then going back and finding policies that help enhance that business owner's abilities to run their business in a way that is successful. Because that successful business helps our residents, it helps the citizens, it helps the city, it helps the area. And that's what builds a strong economy, is a government in partnership with policies that enhance rather than policies that are punitive.
Well, there you have it, folks. And Mr. Grayson, I'd like to thank you for a wonderful opportunity here to get your perspective on the economic outlook in Contra Costa County, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be here.